In the dead of night, satellite imagery captures something extraordinary. Precision strikes light up the Syrian landscape like deadly fireworks, but the official statements don't match what intelligence analysts are seeing from space. While the world leaders speak of targeted operations and defensive measures, the reality on the ground tells a completely different story. What you're about to discover will change everything you think you know about modern warfare in the Middle East. This is the untold story of Israel's Syria operations, where official narratives, satellite intelligence, and regional reports paint completely three different pictures of the same conflict. Welcome to World 247. The official narrative versus reality. When Israeli officials address their operations in Syria, the language is always carefully measured. They speak of defensive actions, preventing weapons transfer, protecting national security interests. But strip away from the diplomatic language, and you'll find a far more complex operation that has been reshaping the balance of power across the entire Levant. Since 2011, Israel has conducted what experts estimate to be over 400 separate operations inside Syrian territory. That's not a defensive posture, that's a comprehensive strategic campaign. The official Israeli position has remained remarkably consistent. They're simply preventing Iranian forces and Hezbollah from establishing a permanent military presence across the northern border. But here's what the narrative starts to crack. Intelligence sources suggest these operations extend far beyond preventing weapons transfer. Satellite analysis reveals a pattern of strikes that systematically target not just weapon convoys but research facilities, command centers, and strategic infrastructure across multiple Syrian provinces. The geographic spread tells its own story, from Damascus to the suburbs of Aleppo countryside. This isn't about border security anymore. Regional security analysts have identified three distinct phases of Israeli operations in Syria, each representing an evolution and strategic objectives that goes well beyond the official talking points. What satellite intelligence reveals. Space-based intelligence has revolutionized how we understand modern conflicts, and Syria is no exception. Commercial satellite companies like Planet Labs and Maxar Technologies have captured thousands of images showing the before and after Israeli operations across Syria. What these images reveal is startling. The precision is surgical. Facilities are neutralized with minimal collateral damage, often leaving neighboring buildings completely untouched. This level of accuracy requires intelligence that goes far deeper than simply tracking weapon shipments. Damage assessment reports from open source intelligence analysts show that Israel has developed what appears to be a comprehensive target database spanning the entire Syrian theater. Research facilities affiliated with chemical weapon programs, missile production sites, and even conventional military installations have all been systematically degraded over the past decade. But perhaps most revealing is what the satellites don't show. Advanced bunker buster weapons leave distinct craters patterns. Electronic warfare systems creates specific types of equipment damage. The forensic analysis of strike sites tells a story of capabilities that extend far beyond conventional air-to-surface operations. Independent verification groups have documented at least 12 separate instances where the satellite evidence directly contradicts official statements about the scope and nature of specific operations. One particularly revealing case occurred in January 2024 when official sources described a limited strike on weapon depot near Damascus. Satellite imagery showed coordinated strikes across several facilities spanning the three provinces executed simultaneously. This wasn't about stopping a single weapons transfer. This was systematic degradation of strategic assets. Regional intelligence and the proxy chess game. To understand what's really happening in Syria, you have to look at the conflict through the lens of regional players, playing an incredibly sophisticated game of strategic chess. Iran's presence in Syria isn't just about supporting the Assad government. It's about establishing land corridor from Tehran to the Mediterranean, creating a strategic arc of influence that would fundamentally alter the balance of power in the Middle East. Israeli operations in Syria are part of much larger regional strategy that involves coordination with multiple intelligence services, advanced rec- recogniz- Israeli operations in Syria are part of much larger regional strategy that involves coordination with multiple intelligence services and carefully managed escalation thresholds. Sources within regional intelligence networks describe a level of operation coordinated that goes far beyond simple defensive measures. The timing of strike often correlates with specific movements of Iranian Revolutionary Guard personnel, suggesting real time human intelligence assets embedded deep within the operational infrastructure of Iranian forces in Syria. But here's where it gets really complex. Russian forces maintain a significant presence in Syria, operating advanced air defense systems that should theoretically be capable of intercepting Israeli aircraft. Yet strikes continue with remarkable consistency. This suggests either a level of technological superiority that renders Russian systems ineffective, or a degree of coordination between Russian and Israeli forces that neither side acknowledges publicly. Regional intelligence sources point to a third possibility. Russia may be selectively allowing certain operations to proceed as part of larger strategic understanding with Israel regarding Iranian influence in Syria. The evidence for this comes from analyzing the geographical patterns of successful strikes. Operations near Russian installations consistently succeed, while strikes in areas where Russian forces are not present sometimes face more resistance. The information warfare dimension. Modern conflicts aren't fought with missiles and aircraft, they are fought with information, narrative control, and strategic communications. Israel has mastered the art of operational security while maintaining plausible deniability for its Syria operations. The standard Israeli response to questions about specific operations is always the same. We don't comment on foreign reports. This carefully crafted ambiguity serves multiple strategic purposes. It allows for maximum operational flexibility while avoiding the diplomatic complications that come with publicly acknowledging violations of Syrian sovereignty. But more importantly, it creates space for other regional actors to interpret Israeli actions through their own strategic lens, potentially deterring escalation while maintaining strategic ambiguity. Syrian government statements about Israeli operations follow their own predictable pattern. They consistently describe aggression and violations of sovereignty while providing minimal specific details about the actual targets or extent of damage. This suggests a level of strategic restraint on all sides that prevents these operations from escalating into broader regional conflict. Iranian responses follow a similar pattern of strategic ambiguity. Despite significant losses of personnel and equipment, Iranian officials rarely acknowledge the full extent of Israeli operations, instead focusing on broader rhetorical condemnation. The result is carefully managed conflict where all parties understand the rules of engagement, even though those rules are never publicly stated. Media coverage of these operations reveal another layer of information management. Western media outlets typically report Israeli operations as defensive measures, while regional media often represents them as unprovoked aggression. Neither narrative captures the full complexity of what intelligence analysts describe as carefully calibrated strategic campaign designed to achieve specific geopolitical objectives without triggering broader regional war. The strategic implications. The real story of Israeli operations in Syria isn't about individual strikes or tactical victories. It's about systematic reshaping of regional power dynamics through sustained strategic action. Over the past decade, these operations have effectively prevented Iran from establishing the permanent military infrastructure it needs to project power across the Levant. But they have also established new precedents for how regional powers can operate in failed state environments without triggering international intervention. The Syrian conflict has become a testing ground for advanced military technologies, intelligence coordination between multiple nations, and strategic communication techniques that manage escalation while achieving strategic objectives. For Israel, success in Syria demonstrates the effectiveness of what defense analysts call campaign level operations, sustained strategic action that achieves political objectives through accumulated tactical success over extended time frames. This model has implications that extend far beyond the Syrian theater. It represents a new paradigm of how middle powers can reshape security environments through persistent, carefully, and calibrated action. Regional powers across the globe are studying the Israel approach to Syria as a potential model for their own strategic challenges. The integration of satellite intelligence, human intelligence networks, advanced weapons systems, and strategic communication into a coherent operational framework represents an evolution in modern warfare that will influence conflicts for decades to come. But perhaps most significantly, the Syrian operations demonstrate how regional powers can pursue strategic objectives even if in the face of great power competition. Despite Russian presence and Iranian resistance, Israel has maintained operational freedom and achieved its primary strategic objectives through superior intelligence, technological advantages, and carefully management of escalation dynamics. Conclusion: the story of Israel operations in Syria reveals something profound about the nature of modern geopolitical competition. Official statements, satellite intelligence, and regional reports don't just tell different stories, they reveal the multi layered complexity of conflicts where information itself becomes a strategic weapon. What we are witnessing in Syria isn't just a series of tactical operations, it's the emergence of a new model for how nations project power and achieve strategic objectives in an interconnected world, where traditional warfare and diplomacy have become sufficient tools for managing complex regional challenges. The gap between official narratives and observable reality isn't just about operational security, it's about fundamental challenge of governing in an age where information moves faster than policy, where satellite imagery reveals what governments prefer to keep hidden, and where regional powers must balance transparency with strategic effectiveness. The Syrian theater has become a laboratory for testing these new realities, and the lessons learned there will shape how conflicts are fought and managed for generations to come. Understanding these dynamics isn't just about Middle Eastern geopolitics, it's about recognizing the new rules of engagement that will define international relations in the decades ahead. If this analysis opened your eyes to the complexity behind headlines, make sure to subscribe to World 247. We are committed to going beyond surface level reporting to reveal the strategic realities that shape our world. Hit the like button if you found this perspective valuable, and drop a comment below sharing your thoughts on how intelligence and information warfare are changing modern conflicts. Your engagements help us continue producing in-depth analysis and cuts through official narratives to reveal really what's happening at the global stage. In our next investigation, we are going inside one of the world's most legendary and secretive intelligence organizations, Mossad. Will reveal the inner workings of the agency that has become synonymous with impossible missions and surgical precision, exploring how Israel's intelligence service operatives at the cutting edge of modern espionage and covert action work and deliver on their